We get a lot of questions related to, koi behavior. What is my crazy fish doing now? And more importantly, what does that mean? So I wanted to talk to you today just about a few of the things that you might see your koi doing that are unusual, and what that might mean. What that would indicate is a problem or a concern in your pond, and then some quick tips on what you might want to do to take care of that. So the first thing is, if you see a lot of gasping at the surface, it almost looks like they're sticking their little mouths out to try to grab some air. Almost what it is. I mean, obviously they're not trying to breathe air like we do, but the surface of your pond and the surface tension that they create when they get up there and splash around is where you would find most of the oxygen that they need. And if you see them doing that, it's a good chance that you have a problem and there is a lack of oxygen in your pond. Sometimes during the summer, especially at night, so you have a lot of plants. You've got algae on the side of your pond and a ton of floating plants. Well, during the day, everything's great. They're sucking out any CO2 and they're pumping out oxygen and things are good. But at night, the inverse happens, and all of a sudden, your fish can have a lot of problems, especially in hot weather. So if you notice that they're having some problems and they're gasping, for oxygen, what you might want to do is add something that's going to break the surface tension and help put in some oxygen and mix it in with the water. Some kind of a spitter or a fountain in an emergency. If you have a little sump pump, one of those small ones, stick it just a few inches below, the water level of your pond, and just have it spray and bubble. That'll work great. The ultimate solution, and the very low cost, energy-wise ongoing solution, is to add an aerator. Almost like you would, and for an emergency, what you would put, in a pond, just a little aerator for say an aquarium. Really inexpensive, cheap. Have those little round, aeration stones. Just pop that in there and let the bubbles go. As it gets to the surface, it'll create some surface tension, and plus pumping the water in will help also. Pumping some air into your water, will help also. And when you want to go permanent with that, there's some great pond aeration kits that can add a lot of oxygen to your pond and create some, some water flow and some circulation that'll really help your pond. Even help with keeping down your algae. Big aeration systems are what people with large ponds, a lot of times that's all they have to work with. So you can't go wrong with that. Next thing we're looking for, all of a sudden your pig koi, the ones that will eat anything, and no matter how much you give them, they're still hungry. They're not eating. They're just kind of hanging there. You put the food out and they're like, Immediately we want to test for nitrogen and ammonia. Those are the two things that will cause some problems. That will kind of cause that listlessness. And you can quickly, once you figure out which one it is, find a product that'll solve that problem for you. The other thing we see a lot of is what's called flashing. And it's where all of a sudden you see you've got some rocks along the side of your pond, and all of a sudden the fish are just coming in and just flashing up along against them. What they're actually doing is scratching and rubbing. And that's usually an indication that they may have parasites. Now, a little bit of that here and there is one thing, but I'm talking about something that's unusual. If you've seen them do it occasionally, but all of a sudden they're just, it's like, boy, that guy's itching like crazy. What's going on? Well, he's probably got a parasite, and it looks like we're going to need to medicate that guy. So, and then the last thing, which is, kind of one that is funny. I mean, the two behaviors I always thought were kind of cool with the koi is we always had the train, where they just kind of circle around, everybody gets in line, kind of like elephants going around around the little Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and there's our koi going their parade. But the other thing that we'd see sometimes is all of a sudden they're just ramming each other. It's like bumper cars. It's like, what the heck? That guy's just being a bully. He's running around and ramming the sides of all these fish. What in the heck is wrong with that guy? And typically that's an indication that it's mating season. The male kois are running around going, hey, is that a female? She have eggs? They want to ram up against the side of them, try to, get them to go and lay those eggs. And some of the koi aren't that bright. They'll pretty much ram anything. Sort of like college guy at the end of a long night at the bar. So that's what's happening with him. He's not really being a bully, but if you have some smaller koi that you feel like are getting beat up pretty good, add some milk cartons, some milk crates, something in the pond, some kind of a place where those little guys can get in there and hide and protect themselves if it looks like they're starting to get bruised up or lose some scales.